Hello, and welcome to the complete SQL and Google BigQuery Masterclass for marketeers, specifically for marketeers. This is the introduction, so let's get started. Do you consider yourself a marketeer? Or do you just want to learn how SQL works? In both cases, this course is probably for you, especially if you work with a lot of data, and even more so if you're finding the limits of Excel, which is pretty fast these days because the amount of data that we're working with becomes more and more and more. You'll want to learn SQL also because we're going to be gathering more and more and more data in-house, right? Everything's going to be first party. You want to be in control of your data, journey, destiny, and the data itself. But then you also need to know how to manipulate it. And Excel is just not going to do it. And Google Spreadsheet, tricky as well. When you're an SEO specialist, or whether you're a paid media specialist, whether you're an email marketeer, a social media marketeer, CRM marketeer, it doesn't really matter. It works for everybody the same. Your sources might differ, but in the end, you'll be saving yourself tons of time and you'll be able to focus more, for example, on what really matters, and that is getting the insights. When you're working a lot with Excel, it's all about getting the data from the different sources, cleaning it so that you can connect everything together. And then once everything is connected together, then you can start transforming it, putting it in tables, putting it in visualizations, and then you can start analyzing it. This takes a lot of time, right? Well, with SQL, you can automate this whole flow, for example. Besides the fact that you'll just have tons and tons of extra data that you can use, which is always nice. During this course, we'll be using specifically sources that are related to us as marketeers. So not per se financial data, but there will be Google Analytics 4 data, there will be Search Console data, there will be SERP data from Flipstream, there will be clustering data also through Flipstream, there will be Crux data from the generic research. There's going to be other data sources used from the HTTP archive, for example, where there's also tons of information available. And then there's a lot of other sources like e-commerce data that we can work with to do everything, to learn basically everything that we need to learn. Because, and trust me, this is just going to be the start. I'm going to make myself smaller here. This is the start. You know, we're going to start with the introduction and setup. That's where you are right now. And that's the first week. The introduction will be like a bit of a walkthrough to all of this. And then who I am, what Flipstream is. And then we can get started with setting yourself up in Google Cloud Platform. Then we're going to go next week into the data warehouses and BigQuery basics, because that's where we all should start. You should know what it is, what is the difference with a data lake, for example. And what are the basics from BigQuery. How are you going to manage costs? Should you be afraid of costs? It's all very important. We're going to start fetching data from a table, because that's in the end the core at what we'll be doing with SQL. It's important to understand what is the ordering in how SQL is written and how it is executed, because you write it differently than that it is executed, and that is probably the most tricky thing to get your head around. The rest is just knowledge, because it's all functionality within SQL that you can use. And ChatGPT is 100% your friend if they survive, because at the time of recording this, OpenAI is just having a meltdown with leaving the company, but that is a whole different topic. If we don't have data in BigQuery, you can't do anything, right? So how do you get data into BigQuery? How do you get Google Ads data in there? How do you get Flipstream data in there? How do you get so SEO data, basically? How do you get Search Console data in there? How do you get, well, you name it. How do you get it into BigQuery? That's what we'll be getting into. And that means that we're going to be talking about tools. There's like enterprise tools like Fivetran. There are less enterprise-y tools, but still enterprise tools, but also good for like smaller companies, starting at about $100 a month, for example. Then you're talking about Stitch, but more on that in chapter 5. We'll be visualizing data, of course, because in the end, that's what we'll be doing it for. And you can visualize data anywhere you want, because BigQuery is generally to be connected to any data visualization software that you can think of. But in the basics, it is Looker Studio. And we're going to, of course, see how we can get data out of BigQuery so you can continue your analysis in Google Sheets. Well, we want to be able to filter, right? Because that's what you do in Excel as well. Once you have a table, you want to be able to filter this table. And we use the where clause for that. And there's a ton of stuff that you can do with the where. You can make it super complex or you can make it super simple, like a whole week of information around this. But also you want to make sure that you deduplicate everything that you're going to be reporting on, that you can group everything together, that you know how to do sorting, so that the output that you're working with is going to be unique and not too much duplicate stuff. Yeah, math, pretty obvious. You know, pluses, minuses, so subtractions, adding, summing up everything. And also here, you can make it yourself very complicated or keep it easy. We're going to start easy, and then you can make it complicated for yourself in the future. And it is as straightforward as you think it is right now. It's literally the same as in Excel. Sum is sum, just not the Dutch Excel, like of course the English versions. What you're doing in Excel a lot is the most is probably the VLOOKUP. That's going to be in the more advanced section that starts chapter 13, because yes, there is another slide after this of everything that you're going to be learning. But the second most used feature is probably the if-else functionality. And we're going to also be doing that in Excel. The thing is, it's just not called if-else, it's called case when then. And it's much easier, and it's much more easier to read as well, especially if you share this information and the SQL that you write also with your colleagues. We're going to be trimming data because you need to have clean data. It's kind of fits with number 8, the distinct and group by, so that you have unique data. You also want spaces are a character in SQL. In Excel, they're technically also a character, right? And if you then do a VLOOKUP, it doesn't match because the space is there or it's not there. So you have to be careful for a lot of those things. And the same goes with date. Date is also something that, you know, you can probably write a book about what you can do with date. So yeah, I want to give you a lot of exercises there on how you can filter, for example, a where clause on dates between, but or from and beyond, etc. Dates in BigQuery are also written a little bit different than what we as Dutchies, Europeans are used to. So that's kind of something to put in your head. And we'll finish the basics with regex functions, because you want to be able to search inside all of your data in bulk. And regex is obviously a super nice way of doing that. Like I said, we also have a more advanced section that we'll get through, well, after this is all done. If I'll be releasing every week, that's my goal. I sometimes may go faster than other times, depending on, you know, the flow. But at least every week I will do a release. So this means that if you follow along from the beginning, which is right now, then by the time it is, by the end of February, we should be done with all of this. That sounds like it's very far into the future, but it's probably closer than you think. Once you've got all of this knowledge, we have basically 5 more or 6 more to complete before we have a project. And then there's some bonus stuff, and I just call it bonus because I kind of don't know yet what to put in there. Very likely prompt engineering is going to be something that's going to be in there, because yes, I do use ChatGPT a lot. It makes a lot of sense to use it when you're learning a new language like SQL. And maybe that's something that I'll also use during the courses already. There will be separate projects. Obviously, when we're doing this course, there's everything you can follow along. You need to be writing a lot of the SQL yourself, and you're going to have a lot of fun there writing it all yourself, because the data is all going to be available either through me and Flipstream, or through Google BigQuery itself, or through these third parties like the HP Archive, public data sets, but more on that in the actual BigQuery basics. Why is all of this advanced? Well, you want to be able to schedule queries, but before we can schedule queries, you need to understand the basics, right? You need to be able to write SQL and extract data, etc. We're going to be doing VLOOKUPs also, but in Excel they're not. They're called VLOOKUPs, but in SQL they're called joins. Simple. They act exactly the same, and you can also do subqueries within SQL. What is that? Well, it's instead of loading data from a table, you're loading data from another SQL statement inside the SQL that you're working on. But again, this is why this is advanced. This is for something to worry about later, and I will also explain why you need all of that. CTEs, they are advanced, but they are something that you will need to start using as soon as possible, as soon as you're going to do joins. So there's an ugly way of doing joins, a very inefficient way of doing joins that is not easy to read. And then there's a very easy to read way of doing joins, and that's called CTEs, which basically put a ton of tables in memory and then you work with them. And that is also a way to limit the costs of queries quite significantly. Same goes for partitioning and clustering. And clustering and partitioning speeds up your SQL also tons, especially if you have, like, for example, Google Analytics data that you have for the last 4 years, maybe not GA4, but in a world where we have 3 years worth of Google Analytics 4 data, then you definitely want to have it partitioned on date and clustered on columns that you will filter a lot on. Then there's also something called materialized views instead of tables, which will again have an impact on the costs that you're having inside of BigQuery, and also speed, because they will also speed up your work a lot, but they have also downsides because they are not real time, for example. But most of our data is anyway good enough for yesterday. So then when you do standardize a lot of your work, materialized views are really, really nice to set up. And then kind of to finish off with is the most advanced part, arrays on nesting and structs, which we will actually just simply get to with using Google Analytics 4 data, because there's a lot of structs in Google Analytics 4. There's a lot of unnesting to do because of that. And arrays you also have in other data sources. Pretty sure in the e-commerce data source that we'll be touching on, it's also there, but don't pin me down on that. Anyway, I'm talking way too long about the introduction, but I just wanted to make sure that you have like a really good overview of all of the stuff that you'll be learning. And I hope that you're just as excited as I am on everything that this is. So who am I to actually teach you this? Hey, this is funny. This is like the real life version of that guy there. So I'll just put myself here maybe. I'm Michel Kant, and I'm in SEO for 14 years by now. This is weird. I'm in SEO for 14 years. I started in 2010 on the agency side. I worked at Traffic for You. This is now Reprise. I've also worked agency enterprise side. I've been head of SEO at Staples Europe, where I covered all of the European countries that we were active, which was in total about 39 websites. From the top of my head, I think, 39, because it was B2B and it was B2C. And we also technically I also covered the EMEA, so Africa as well, and some of the Middle East, where I did some trainings online already before COVID. Somehow I became specialized in technical SEO because I am a technical guy. I pretty much makes sense because I do know how to program. I do know how to use Python. I do know how to use Node together with the JavaScript and TypeScript, etc. But what I wanted to say is that somehow in the last 7 years, I've been doing about 100 migrations, 100 website migrations, covering millions and millions of pages. And I work a lot with single page applications. But most of all, I really, really love SEO data, and more broadly speaking, the process around it, the data engineering side. So making sure that all of the flows are correct, that the data is loaded right, that the SQL is written in a way that's efficient, and that you can really automate a lot of the workflow. And in my heart, I'm just a consultant, and I love giving away my knowledge, and I love helping people. So that's what I love doing at the moment the most, and that is also why I set up Flipstream, because I truly believe also that as SEOs and marketeers in general, we're going to be owning our data much, much more into the future. we're going to be pulling all the data towards ourselves, because it's all first party, and we want to join and connect all of that to create our own world within our own organization or for our clients, so that we can get much deeper into everything. And of course, very simply put, make it much more efficient to work with all of this data. Because you can, when you own the data, you own also where you can visualize it, right? You can decide to visualize it in Power BI, Tableau, Looker Studio, or any other data visualization solution, or you can give the data to your BI team or your data team so that they can start playing with it. And this is also how we can get our management or clients, when you're on an agency side, to actually see the overarching picture. Because how often have you not been in a situation where you can make reports in an enterprise SEO solution, but there's no manager or no stakeholder that goes into the enterprise SEO solution? But if they just had a dashboard from Looker that they could just open up in their browser, where you just show all of the information exactly to the comma based on requirements that you've set up with them, that's an amazing feeling when you reach that. And when you can then have these super interactive conversations together around the data, where the data is really working for you and not against you. One of the things that was missing in this story for me really was SEO data. And that's why I created Flipstream. Initially, of course, as a tool. By now, it's much bigger than a tool. And our mission is really to enable SEOs to be in control of their own data journey. And it started with our data solutions. But by now, we're doing market insights, we share knowledge, so you're looking at it right now, and we do data consulting, because that very often becomes the second question after using the data solutions. Market insights, we're working on the SERP monitor. It's not live yet by the time of recording. Maybe when you're watching this, it is already live on the website. You can check it out on flipstream.io, and you can see the volatility of the SERP in the Netherlands, and also which SERP features are there, etc. What we also do is we partner with agencies where we do market research. And recently, together with IO Digital, we published a research paper into the local market, and we analyzed 100,000 business profiles, and we made up an algorithm so that we can see how well optimized each market segment is, each branch is in the Netherlands, so that as a business owner, you can compare yourself with the market, and you can see how well you're optimized or how much opportunity is still out there, basically. So yeah, that is Flipstream. We do this by now, like I said, for, thank God, multiple companies. And I'm really, really proud of this slide, because a lot of these brands I really look up to, and they're international, they're enterprise, they're agencies, and they're huge. So yeah, this is really something that makes me smile. But that's enough about me. That's enough about Flipstream. This course is made for you, the marketeer, and I really hope to guide you through the difficulties of what SQL and BigQuery look like, and take them out of your way, and then really help you to get set up there and really start working with this new data journey that is ahead of you. In the next video, or in the next chapter, we're actually going to go into the Google Cloud Platform, and I'm going to help you set up your account. You will need to enable billing in order to follow the course. Don't worry, if it's a new account, you'll get $300 for free. If it's an existing account, it's very unlikely that you're going to make costs, especially if you follow the tutorials that I'm going to provide you here to the comma. Because BigQuery is made for, and I'll repeat this later on, but BigQuery is made for companies like Twitter, like Spotify, who do not megabytes, not gigabytes, not terabytes, but petabytes and zettabytes of data analysis in their queries. And it's still relatively cheap for companies like that. When we're making costs, it's 1 cent a month, 2 cents a month, €2, €6 a month. Like that's about how far you can get if you really stretch it in the beginning. But anyways, I'm starting to rattle. This is it for the introduction. I'll see you in the Google Cloud Platform setup in the next video. Bye.